Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, a friend, everybody who is a fan of Horizon Forbidden West is rightfully up in arms because the way that Sony have been handling it is kind of all over the place. Now, not to go full-on accusatory Ace Attorney style pointing the finger, but there's literally a big old lie being told. You want to call him Jim Ryan? Jim Lion is getting out there because there's a few things to break down here. One is that Sony have started referring to the idea of games auto-upgrading from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 versions as dual entitlement. It's just their version of smart delivery. But over on the Xbox side, that just takes care of itself. On the PlayStation side, first of all, the name dual entitlement makes it feel like the consumer is asking for too much, but whatever, we'll sidestep that thing. The point right now, the big thing that's doing the rounds is that Horizon Forbidden West's pre-orders went live, and that game doesn't include the auto upgrade to PlayStation 5 if you buy the PlayStation 4 version, neither the regular standard edition or even the special edition. You'll have to buy it again on PlayStation 5. Now, this directly contradicts what Jim Lion, said last year in September, who literally just said PlayStation 5 versions of games are built from the ground up to take advantage of the PlayStation 5 feature set, and we have an upgrade path for PlayStation 4 users to get the PlayStation 5 versions for free. It's about people having choice. I'm really quite pleased about the situation. Now, we'll dive into some of that a bit more because Sony have also now said, alongside the pre-order stuff, that there are no plans for an update offer if you buy on PS4. Just like I said, you buy on PS4 and you want the PlayStation 5 stuff, you'll have to buy the digital deluxe version, which gives you the PS4 version and the PS5 version. Pointless, because why would you ever want both versions? But overall, they're not doing the upgrade thing for free. They're not doing what Xbox is doing. They want you to buy it separately on PS5, which has annoyed literally everybody.
Dude, you know me, I'm a huge Sony fan, and this just straight up sucks. Seeing them experiment with these different models over the past year has just been infuriating. Obviously,
they don't know what they're doing.
No, they don't. Like last year when the PS5 launched, they had Miles Morales, which was this cross-gen game, and it was more expensive on the 5, but you could buy it on the 4 and get an upgrade that way. Then we've just had the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut kerfuffle, which has 4 or 5 different pricing tiers. And I was talking to your friend of mine, Adam Nicholas, who was getting into it for the first time and owned the PlayStation 4 version, and he was incensed that he couldn't just get an upgrade to the 5 without also having to buy the DLC. Now we're in this position where, like you said, Jim Ryan has previously stated that these updates would be free for the likes of Horizon, and now we've got the Horizon announcement, and in the small print we've got all of this kind of new caveats where you can't just get a free upgrade or even buy that upgrade unless you get that super special edition or whatever. And it sucks, man. It sucks because not only does it suck in a vacuum, in isolation as a business practice, but it feels counterintuitive to where the industry is today. Like you mentioned, Microsoft and their smart delivery system, which is so seamless. And I feel like even third-party publishers are kind of coming around to this idea of giving the updated versions of the games away for free. Obviously, not everyone's doing this, but this, to me, puts Sony more in line with Call of Duty and Activision and 2K than it does publishers who are actually known for respecting the consumer and stuff like that. This is similar to Call of Duty's gimmick, where if you want to get the cross-gen thing, you have to buy the cross-gen bundle, which is of course more money. And for a game as anticipated as, listen, I'm going to get into another point. Sorry for just rambling.
Don't do it.
But what also frustrates me is that this is assuming that people even can get a PlayStation 5 in the first place. When it comes to February, when this game comes out, there will be people who still can't get a PlayStation 5, and obviously because they want to play Horizon because it's a massive game, they're going to buy the PlayStation 4 version and then kind of be punished for a problem that isn't theirs. There's so many people who want to throw money at Sony and get a PlayStation 5 to get the next gen versions of the games, but they literally can't, and this feels like it punishes them as much as anyone who is unwilling to adopt, which shouldn't even be the case in the first place. And that's my point. I want to stop spitting around and let you talk.
No, I think all that stuff is 1,000,000% valid. I think that it comes across as very, and there's always the go-to reference point of PS3 era Sony, price gouging, full of themselves, hubristic Sony, and they are on top of the world right now, and they are selling a hell of a lot, and they do have a lot, all the Christmas plans and everything else that they must have in the chamber for the rest of the year, and they know that their sales numbers are going to be very high, but at the same time, there is absolutely that acknowledgement that if you can't get a PS5 and you do want to play Horizon Forbidden West, obviously it's not coming out until March next year, so there's more time for that specific game, but still, this shines a light on how they're approaching approaching this stuff. You mentioned the director's cut stuff. I just mentioned the quote from Jim last year where everything was just going to be handled for free. Then they thought, well, why don't we do director's cut versions and charge you that way? And now it's just, well, we're just going to do one version of a game or one game that comes in like 5 different tiers. Because there's the regular edition, there's the special edition, there's the digital deluxe edition, there's the Regala edition, and there's the collector's edition off the top of my head. The latter two come with collectible statues and stuff. But I just feel like over at Sony Towers, they're just sort of sitting around going, okay, we're in a position where, the Xbox system, as much as I love my Series X, the Xbox ecosystem is very strong, but it's not really contending with our sales numbers. What opportunistic money gouging thing can we do right now to make the most of this period before it ends, before Xbox comes back stronger next year, etc.? And so, well, can we try director's cuts? Can we try this different thing? Can we try monetizing the game a bit more? And overall, like you said, it just doesn't line up with where the industry is at, where it should be that we're buying a game and then you just play it on, you buy it on PlayStation and it works on a PlayStation system going forward, not having to buy it and rebuy it over and over again. I don't know if you want to add a bit more to that, but I'm going to revisit one other thing that he talked about as well in regards to just what even is a PS5 game at this point, and like the weird conflation of the way they've approached that stuff too. I mean,
we've talked both on camera and off camera, and until kind of like now, I sort of cut Sony some slack with this because, you take something like the director's cut, and you can easily look at that as kind of like an opportunistic cash grab, but that did involve the directors at least having to go back and put extra work into a game that's already released, which obviously costs money. So that's kind of how I justified those. But when it comes to something like Horizon, those different SKUs are being developed, you'd assume, at the same time. So to release them for 2 completely different prices and to make you buy them both and to not have the foresight to make it more accessible, to me that stinks. To me that really sucks. And it just kind of muddies the water on a message of next gen that I'm sure you're going to get to, and that is already incredibly confusing from Sony's camp.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So to like make this conversation a bit wider, like there is that whole thing of what even is the next generation to Sony right now, and what do they actually want to aim for? Because part of that Jim Ryan quote that I read out before is that, he was saying like PlayStation 5 versions of games are built from the ground up to take advantage of the PlayStation 5 feature set, which would line up with the idea that you are, willing to pay more for the PlayStation 5 version if that was true. But like to bring in a quote from ex-IGN Colin Moriarty, he was saying that Horizon Forbidden West did start on PlayStation 4. He initially said, he tweeted out that it wasn't a huge surprise that a former PS5 game is now coming to PS4, said that it did start as a PlayStation 4 game before migrating across to PlayStation 5. And it's also, it's worth bringing in Gran Turismo 7, a game that was announced and advertised as a PlayStation 5 exclusive and is now being retrofitted to PlayStation 4. It's just like, even on the Sony side, as much as they want to kind of take a step back in Horizon's case and go, look, you'll pay extra for Horizon on PlayStation 5 because all these exclusive features, all this stuff, we've got so much here for you that is worth buying the digital deluxe version or buying the game again. But at the same time, on the other hand, they're just going like, well, actually God of War's on PlayStation 4 and also so is Horizon and also so is Gran Turismo. And that whole thing that Mark Cerny was getting at and that Jim Ryan talked about as well, that PlayStation 5 architecture fundamentally changes the way games are developed and fundamentally changes the way that we want to offer things to the PlayStation community, just isn't true. It doesn't line up. You can't have both sides of this.
I slightly disagree with you on this point in particular. We've talked about this believe in generations gimmick, and while I don't think it's aged very well, it obviously isn't what we all were led to believe. Part of me kind of cuts them some slack on that front because, we have had games that have been built from the ground up that prove that they do believe in generations to an extent. Even this year we've had Returnal, we've had Ratchet & Clank, we had Demon's Souls last year, but obviously the bigger games...
Destruction All-Stars, mate.
Destruction All-Stars as well. But obviously the bigger games that they are expecting to sell, they are making them cross-platform, and I think that especially gets to a point where I struggle to defend them when it comes to games like GT7, which, like you said, is rumored to have initially just been a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and then now they're retrofitting it for PlayStation 4. And it's kind of moves like that. It moves like this with Horizon, and the fact that I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen Horizon Forbidden West running on PlayStation 4 either, so we don't actually fully know or grasp the details of the differences, apart from what they've said about things like underwater being scaled down and obviously the frame rate and stuff, DualSense. But yeah, the messaging, every single time they come out with something like this, it either contradicts entirely or contradicts in part something that what they've said before. So it's at the point where I want to believe them, I want to be optimistic, I want to put my faith in them, but why should I? Because every single time I have, they've kind of broken that in at least a little bit of a way. And while in isolation, this might not have been like the world-ending problem that we're potentially making it out to be, but all of these things have added up over the past year, man. And I feel like going into next week with the PlayStation Showcase, which is next Thursday, I think, I feel like if that's not good, if that's not big, if that's not a confident swing for the fences, people are going to be disappointed because that's going to have cumulatively added up throughout the year, and we're just kind of like PlayStation owners are left with this feeling of, what's going on? What's the crack?
But I think part of me does wonder if they'll actually renege on the whole thing, because they did take back the PlayStation 3 and the Vita stores going offline. There was enough of a backlash to that, and they just went, oh, sorry, didn't realize you still cared, even though you all still had these systems and were buying things from the stores. Oh, we'll leave them online, don't worry about it. I wonder if there's enough of a stink kicked up around this, because they're such a reactive company anyway, that they might change it. They might even announce it as part of the showcase. Hey, by the way, actually, Horizon is going to do a free update to PS5, or maybe they'll clarify the PS5 side of things in regards to what you are getting for that extra money if you do have to buy it twice. But I think overall, where the companies are at, like obviously you're going to peg them against Nintendo and Xbox, but primarily Xbox. I said to you before we were recording that I feel like Xbox's approach is laser focused. Like, you can argue that they don't have enough new tech. They don't really have anything that's showing off what the Series X can do. Maybe Microsoft Flight Sim, but there's not that much really in terms of reasons to buy the system. But they are laser focused on Game Pass. They're laser focused on the business side of things and getting all those deals together and getting everybody in Game Pass, and then they're going to do the Bethesda stuff and all the new exclusives next year and going forward. That's a really obvious business plan that you can see, and it's spearheaded by Phil Spencer, and you can literally see the parts of it coming together. Sony, on the other hand, if that's a laser focused pointer, are literally, like I said to you before we started chatting, they just feel like the cat that's running after the pointer trying to hit it, just going like, oh, it's that, I got it for a bit, but oh, it's over there now. And just sort of doing whatever they can to try and keep up with what the competition is doing, navigating the whole cross-gen, smart delivery, dual entitlement type thing really, really clumsily. And then, you know, I want to cut Jim Ryan some slack as a human being. I'm sure he's just going with the cards he's been dealt, but some of those cards are cards that he's crafting and putting into the deck himself. So there is that side of it too. But yeah, it's kind of baffling. Like, this is obviously nakedly the wrong way to go, and just was from day one, and the reaction online massively supports that. So yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below of the idea of paying again for a PlayStation 5 game if you already bought the PlayStation 4 version. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.